Happy New Year! We're going back to level 6. Or rather, we would have been if that door had been open. The punishment for failure to push right as you enter level 11 is a warp straight back to level 6. Fortunately, the warp only opens once the first time you reach level 11. We already reached it last time around, and in fact I took that warp off screen to get us back to 6 so that we could do levels 8 and 9. So this time around, it wasn't open. Now this treasure room is actually really easy to find, as opposed to basically every other treasure room in the game. I showed off a little bit here and almost paid for it, but I didn't. And my reward is a secret coin. Really easy one to find. And if you're wondering why I didn't die despite clearly touching that mummy, it's because there are 2 points in which you can contact an enemy and not die. One is as the mummy is materializing in the room, and the other is as it's transforming into something far more hideous and deadly. Fortunately, I caught that mummy in the second form. I know I really shouldn't, but I like this room. It gives you a great opportunity to show off the skills you've learned so far, even though it's a push right or die kind of deal. Or at least the first part does. The rest of it is far less interesting. Although, there is a hidden slavery room here that you can only get to by collecting the bombs in the precise order that I am now collecting them. Of course, I'm not going to go in there, because despite the fact that it has an extra life in the form of one of Jack's brothers, in and of itself, it's a death trap. All it really is good for is training for the final battle of the game. Now, there is another secret coin in this landmass here at the start of the final section of Stage 11, but it's another one of those, over lava kind of things that I really don't like. So I'm skipping it. I'll get more later. Now, last time around, I didn't get all the 50,000 point bonuses from the royal rooms I encountered, and I'm honestly a little bit ashamed of it. So despite the fact that the royal rooms are greatly increasing in complexity and difficulty, I'll make it up to all of you by getting all of the rest of them from here on out. See, that wasn't too hard, was it? That's because it's not Stage 13, which I maintain is the most difficult of the royal rooms to even complete, let alone get all of the bombs in the correct order on. Look at those points rolling in. Level 12 is simultaneously the longest and one of the shortest levels in the entire game. It's also where we're going to pick up the second crystal ball. But to do it, we have to find bullshit hidden Sphinx. Where could it be? That's right, in a chest in the middle of nowhere, over a fiery pit of doom. Fortunately, the exit opens up very nearby, otherwise we would have been completely boned. For the record, I'd like to let it be known that I really hate this area. First off, it is a maze, as you'll see once I go through here and more doors start to pop up. There's a specific route that you have to take through it, and if you don't take it, you wind up getting caught behind one-way doors and are forced to exit back out, come back in, and try again. The other thing I really hate about this area is the sheer amount of treasure chests in it that are filled with nothing good. Basically, all you're going to get out of treasure chests, except in treasure rooms, like the one that I just entered, are, points. There are very few mighty coins to be found, which is a shame because you actually need at least 2 mighty coins in order to pick up the crystal ball in this maze. In addition to that, getting to the Sphinx that opens up the hidden door that takes you to the crystal ball area is also almost certainly going to require some mighty coins. In fact, it's almost certainly going to require you to turn all the enemies on screen into coins at least once. So the grand total of mighty coins that you're going to need to get through the maze successfully is 5, which fortunately I barely have enough to get through. The Sphinx is in a hidden treasure chest at the bottom of this pile. Now, under most circumstances, you wouldn't need to use any mighty coins here, because you could just scroll the enemies off screen and try again, and the treasure chests would still be in the state that you left them. But this is the one part in the entire game where treasure chests respawn if you scroll them off the screen, or scroll the place where they used to be off screen, even ever so slightly. Heck, in a few trial recordings, I didn't scroll them off the screen at all, and they all respawned anyways, invisibly, and I had to start it again. which is beyond incredibly obnoxious. It's downright evil. But eventually I got it, and I didn't jump out a window or throw any controllers at walls, so I'm going to declare that as a success. Now that we have the Sphinx, we have to go actually find the crystal ball itself, which is somewhere else in the maze. Fortunately, it's a lot less maze-like when you're taking these paths. There's a lot more just, corridors where they're going to try to spawn enemies right on top of you, or right where you're going to jump. Probably the most advanced thing about this game is its enemy spawning algorithm, as it's damn good at putting them exactly where you need to be. Fortunately, there is at least one mighty coin right outside the crystal ball room, which doesn't do you a lot of good if you had 0 mighty coins after your experience getting the Sphinx, because you need 2 to get the ball. This is because, as you can see, the other block that I'm able to remove is right next to this orange chest, so you have to turn orange so that you can walk through it and get the crystal ball. I turned green because there is no way I was getting out of there alive, but getting out of there alive isn't exactly a necessity. I could have just died there and been warped back to the beginning of stage 12, but I wanted to show off the route by which one can leave this maze, which is distinctly less maze-like. In fact, you just follow the road, because all of the offshoots that we're going to encounter, all one of them, are closed. And before we get to leave, there's one last treasure room. It only has 1 mighty coin in it, and a lot of points and useless stuff that you don't really need. But whatever. There are more mighty coins to be had, now that we are just about out of this place. That door on the right is where you end up if you take a wrong path in the maze. And once you just get around the enemies here, we will be back in stage 12 proper. Rather, I thought we would. This thing is actually longer than I thought. There we go. Off by 1 screen. Happens to the best of us. Now, there are a lot of mighty tonics in this level, which seems kind of odd if you don't know about the maze and how long it might take you to deal with it. But if you do, and you don't know the way through, then, the mighty tonics might be helpful. Just don't take too many, or else you will be off to the torture room. That's the end of the level off to the right, but I just want to scroll the enemies off screen because they were mucking up the doorway. This royal room, I think, is incredibly easy, but they do mess with you a little bit, if you want to get the 50,000 points, by making you float over 1 row of bombs in 1 row of space. It's kind of tough, but it's a lot easier than it might appear at first glance. Jack's floating powers are actually really good, especially if you can smash the A button as fast as I can. There you have it, stage 12 complete. Alright, on to the last challenge of the day. Throwing ourselves into some fire. Or not, because there is a hidden treasure chest there with a Sphinx that would open up a treasure room, one in a series of 3, right up there to the left. I'm actually not getting that because the treasure room is completely not worth it. There are 3 treasure rooms side by side. The Sphinx opens up the first one, and to get through the second one, you have to bust through the wall. To get to the third one, there's another hidden Sphinx in the second one, which is different from the Japanese version of the game. In the Japanese version of the game, much like the slavery room in stage 11, you have to collect all the bombs at the first start of this stage in the correct order to open the first one. You still have to bust through the wall into the second one by powering up to green, but much like the first crystal ball room, you have to have the tens digit of your score be a specific number when you do that if you want the door to the third one to open, which is some arcane nonsense that I can't even believe they put into a game to begin with. Welcome to the most difficult royal room in the game. I call it the most difficult because every time you want to go get bombs, you have to put yourself at extreme risk. I got lucky and got the fireballs as my enemies when I was entering the room, which is good because they're not as good as tracking you and cornering you in those little alcoves as other enemies are, like the scarabs and the turtles. As a result, and thanks to some bizarre clipping that both stopped me from getting the P-coin and from getting a bug in my face, level 13 is complete, and we are done for the day. Next time, the finale. It's gonna suck.